Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Osu World Cup semifinals, our last match of Saturday. It is Canada coming off a tough loss to the USA in the quarterfinals, up against China, coming off a very strong weekend where they beat Finland 6-1 and then a 6-0 sweep against Norway. I'm iFlame, joined by the lovely Azer. How are you today?
Hello, good morning. Yeah, as you said, I mean, China is coming off pretty strong here with a couple of matches, but I would also kind of say the same about Canada here. Despite their loss to the USA last week, it was pretty close. Maybe not in score, but a lot of the maps, definitely some comparisons to be made. So a bit of a step up in opponents here for China for sure. We've also seen a lot of really good performances on both sides here. I mean, just on Canada's side real quick, I mean, Zooty's had a crazy tournament, at least so far. Absolutely the star of this team right now. And same with China on China's side. We've seen a lot of good stuff from David and Milk Tea as well. Very, very consistent across almost every single map. Like, they're basically in for every single map they play, right? So
Yeah, some very strong players on both teams. And to your point, despite the loss, 7 out of 8 maps played by Canada, they had top 4 in terms of overall team scores. So very strong scores regardless. And this, to me, is a very interesting stylistic matchup. Canada is the hidden team, the reading team. They love picking these hidden 2s, these no mod 5s when they are the reading no mod 5s, which is the case yet again. And China, similarly, loves picking those low AR hidden 2 maps. But when you look at those head-to-head scores last week, Canada first place on the hidden 2 by over 1 million points. I think China are going to have to be forced to ban that one out.
yeah, there was that was a canyon on that map. I don't know what happened. Nobody was even close. It was kind of very, very impressive. But I mean, China definitely do have strong advantages on a lot of map types that maybe they're not really given a lot of credit for. I think you can look at a lot of the DT stuff on here, as well as some of the tapping picks. Looking pretty good for them, I would say. So maybe on the side of Canada as well, something to ban out on their side. Something like the DT1, DT3. Usually there's the speed map being in free mod would be a good ban for them, since China's won that every single time in the head-to-head. Although that's not really in this pool. So maybe that might change things a little bit here. On the side of China, I mean, I think you have to ban the hidden 2 after what you saw last week. Like, even if they could play that, it was not even a contest for any other team.
Nope.
Like, it was a 1.3 million lead or something over the second team. So kind of scary.
Yes, it was. And so expected bans, or the clear bans in my mind, hidden 2 coming out from China. We should see kind of that speed DT from Canada. And I was actually looking at the Hard Rock 3 as a potential ban for Canada. It is very stamina intensive, 226, not the fastest, but it's not really the kind of thing you can just mash your way through. So I'm not sure Canada really has the roster for it this year, and they're going to opt for a free mod 3 ban instead, so already leaving one of those 2 maps open.
That one's kind of interesting, actually. I mean, I would definitely consider Canada to be a pretty capable roster on that one. Lots of people able to fill a lot of the mods on that as well, which actually I think on this map in particular, they also have a couple people that could definitely run over mods on that. Obviously, there's Zooty, that's just going to run HHR on everything probably, but I think there's a lot more people on that roster that would be able to do that. But so far, it's actually going to be China banning out Hard Rock 3. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I have to say it's quite the surprise. I mean, we highlighted the tapping, the DTs as something that they would look towards in this match, but feeling the need to ban it out is slightly concerning. You really hope that China is going to look towards those tapping maps, but not the case so far. They certainly don't have the rating picks they can lean towards, so their picks could potentially be limited here. They do have the first pick. I still really do think it is going to be one of these DTs, very likely the DT2 or the DT3, something. I think the one head-to-head they had over Canada last week, they had one more, but it was a 20,000 point difference, so effectively tied, but it was that DT3 that China really had the edge on Canada over.
Yeah, I mean, For DTs as well, there's always this big question mark over DT4. It's such a uncommon map, right? AR 10.5 on this one. Kind of alt-D style as well, which again, I think Canada would have some pretty good players for, but the fact that it's 10.5, I think might not really be in their favor too much. So I'm curious to see what ends up being their last ban here.
Yeah, we'll have to see. And it will be the Hard Rock 2. This one is a little bit surprising as well. Both teams have been good on the precision. Canada has liked picking the precision, at least in the last 2 rounds, but I'd say overall, China has been the stronger Hard Rock team. This tournament has been one of the weaker skill sets for Canada, aside from the speed, but for the first round in the OC World Cup, Canada does not ban the DT2. I imagine they are not going to be picking that. Now, it's first pick for China, and they've had some good performances, but I think players like David, like MidC, like Crystal are really going to need to step up, because Canada, I think they're one stage too early to say they've really started to fall off. I think this is the kind of pool that Canada should still be quite solid on, and so we're going to need to see some big performances from China's key players.
I'm actually a little curious about some of China's, more filled players, I would say, because they have, a core of, you could say, 4 or 5 people, right? With like David, Burger, Fox, MidC, Crystal, and maybe Z numbers as well. But all the 3 other players on their team would kind of be considered to be, speed filled players. I'm wondering just how much their skill cap can continue. We don't really see them play too often, right? But for some of the early stages, right? Like Crystal doesn't really have the stamina to handle maps, I think, at this stage already. So, you have to start putting in people like Dwagon that they have. That's more of a tapping-centered player. Maybe Z numbers as well can kind of fill that a little bit. Lido Fox as well, mostly just a tapping guy. So, curious to see if we get to see them on these maps. But we're going to take a very different turn here and go for the No Mod 3 here on the side of China, which is also something we haven't really touched at all. But for these types of, like alt and control-y picks as well, definitely a good roster for China on all of these maps. They've been showing good results head-to-head as well on this type of stuff.
Yeah, you're going to see this core of David, MidC, Crystal playing pretty much every single map, but the alt especially. In terms of the 4th on a map like this, could be Dwagon, could be Kurumi as well as the 4th. I think they do have their options. But going back to some of those fill players, Z numbers especially has looked really good. Doesn't play a ton of maps, but has looked really, really solid on the maps that they have been in for. And notably has, I know, quite a few good scores on leaderboards from the pool this week. So things to look forward to there.
Yeah, pretty curious to see full rosters on both sides for this one. I think it's always pretty hard to actually determine who's playing what map on Canada, because they have so many people that like fill different things. They have like a backup for the backup player. Like it's kind of crazy how well-rounded a lot of their, like 6 or 7 other members are. So hard to say who's playing what map. I mean, there's some things that are kind of a given. You're going to see Zooty and Zylice a lot for a lot of these, but a lot of question marks, I think, for everyone else. I think if you're familiar with some of their players, you'd assume that like Saryi would be playing a lot of the altier maps like this one, but so far has not really been too much of the case. So I'm curious to see who steps in for something like this, since, I mean, this map is such, it's so unconventional. We've spoken about this on stream for the previous matches as well, but I mean, CS6 with swing rhythm, it's very unique. So
yeah, it's a tough one. And so far, what we've seen from Canada on these alt picks has been CutPaper and one of either DarkKarate or PikaPwn, but not going to be the case. They're going to have Nick and RyuK, now known as Connor McDavid. So let's see if he can do what Connor McDavid does and put up a carry performance on this first map. Of course, you would love to get an early break point, but this map certainly favors China, as they've got their kind of core 4 players here. As a reminder to those of you who aren't familiar, 235 is David, 234 is Kurumi, and 233 is MidC.
what do you think about the yearly RyuK name change? This one's probably better than the last couple of ones.
This is the best one so far. I can't complain too much.
Man, first map precision is really hard to get into. I'm curious to see how this is gonna go. You'll definitely see a little bit of jitter misses at the start here for sure. First map being probably the one that players are most nervous on when the match is starting. So playing a map that requires this amount of control is gonna be a little scary. But we are going to get into it very shortly.
Yeah, at the very least, this map kind of gets progressively harder as it goes on, so you kind of have some time, at least for the first half of the map, to get into it, but it's not a long map. The first half is not easy by any means, so we're sure to see some misses, and accuracy could be a factor on this one. If anyone is uncomfortable on this style of map, we could see some lower accuracies, and on a map as short as this one, could be a big factor here. Into the first map of Canada versus China, and it is Canada with the first miss. Quickly followed up by 2 from China though. That lead is not going to last long at all.
Yeah, the start here is going to be a little chaotic, I think, as they settle in. This is one of those maps where I think just going straight into this one after you've warmed up, like if you haven't played this immediately before or something like this, it's tough, but looking good for China so far here, still holding on to 2 of their combos. Gonna get an early lead here.
Yeah, and already, there goes a full combo on the side of China, so now it's one big combo on either side. Zylice, not quite the FC, but going to be close enough that it shouldn't make a huge difference, but getting into some of the harder parts of the map after this slow section, we're going to expect to see a lot more misses. The questions are on these big recoveries because we've seen both MidC and Kurumi struggling with chain misses continue over and over again. They need to find some recovery here. Crystal really needs some support because the score lead quickly swinging back over, but that's 2 big misses from Canada. All of a sudden, that score is going to skyrocket over to China's side with all 4 players on recoveries, and Crystal still on that full combo. They do drop 1, but they are going to hold on to the advantage.
Getting some. Oh, okay. I was gonna say Crystal does find a break finally, but getting some like war flashbacks from seeing Crystal pop off here immediately. I think we tend to forget every year that he's still pretty good. Every time manages to surprise all of us, but score lead is going to flip back over here. We've settled into this map. Nick and Zooty have fully recovered since the beginning, and it's gonna flip over.
Yeah, and it's pretty much a full combo reset from China. Zooty, the last one holding, and with pretty much no time left in the map, we might just get that early break point in Canada off to a strong start. There is the miss from Zooty, but I don't think China have the combo to make the comeback. 130,000 points is just too much to make up, and a break point it will be.
I love this ending. Catches a lot of people. The rhythm changes here, but breakpoint on the first map here off the back of Zooty. I mean, kind of as expected. On the Canadian side here is what it looks like most of the time. It's a lot of good scores, and then Zooty is like far above everyone else for some reason. But
yeah,
it was looking good for a while for China there. I mean, David and Crystal definitely gave it a good shot on this one.
Yeah, just fell apart in the ending. Canada held on to those recoveries. They really settled into the map nicely, and I mean, Zooty has just been on fire all tournament long, far and away above the competition, and just about every match she has played. Now, Canada have to consolidate this break point. They're going to look towards possibly one of those hiddens. They have liked something like the Nomad 5 is breeding, but it's not really the raiding maps you typically see from Canada. They have strong hidden players, they have strong low AR players. Nomad 5 is neither of those. It's really heavy overlap raiding. That's not something we've seen Canada really pick. They've also picked a lot of the free mod aim, and they're going to go right back to it. And we have seen time and time again, Canada love to overmod these free mods. Zooty takes the hidden hard rock pretty much every time, and then likely to see CutPaper in for the hidden. They are one of the strongest free mod teams because they have so many players that can take any given mod combination you need. But China, certainly no slouches on something like this. They have quite a solid aim roster themselves. Crystal especially going to be one to watch out for.
Yeah, I mean, just to return to what I was saying about, the depth of versatility when it comes to mods and stuff that the Canadian roster has. I don't even know who's playing Hidden on this. You mentioned CutPaper. I don't actually think CutPaper is going to be playing this because I have so many other people I can fill for Hidden, right? It could be Zylice. I think it's probably going to be PikaPwn. But like it could also be like Nick even. Like they have so many options. Obviously Zooty's going to be running the Hard Rock. On the side of China as well, though, I think usually we tend to see David on the Hidden and then MidC on Hard Rock, I believe.
So far this tournament, actually, it's been David on the Hard Rock, which is slightly unusual, as you mentioned. Quite solid on the Hidden as well, but so far it's been C numbers on the Hidden. Have seen MidC take the Hidden as well, who is in the lobby. Now, I say this every single time. I want to see 2 no-mod players on both teams. The overmod, I feel, very rarely pays off, but Canada, they do it anyways, every single time, without fail.
I think there's a good chance for this one. The section you're hearing right now with all the like the 1/3 streams, pretty tough, I think, if you overmod that on Hidden. And of course, this being an A map, Hard Rock is just going to be objectively harder, right? So pretty unlikely to see an overmod on that. I'd be surprised not to see 2 no mods on both sides here.
Yeah, I mean, this map is just your classic Falcon Sound team map. Fast aim, you know exactly what to expect. You've got some crazy triangles, some geometric patterns. You have to flow aim section to watch out for. That is a little bit harder on the Hidden. And here we go into the map. We do have Lido in for China. Going to be on the no mod, and it will just be Hard Rock for David and Hidden.
Wow.
Hidden for David, Hard Rock for MidC. So good shout out there, Azer. And it is going to be the overmod for Canada. 2 Hiddens and a Hard Rock. And I think those are comfort Hiddens for PikaPwn and Zooty.
RyuK on the Hard Rock, I mean, it's not that surprising, but I would fully expect Zooty to still run HH on everything. It's just 3 points at this point, but this works as well. I mean, pretty comfortable mods. I think maybe they just go for the more comfortable FC on this one. Should still be a good mod choice. I like this map being picked. It's got some lore, because Jonathan LFJ, being a Canadian mapper, went to China for like a month before releasing this map, so he's on both sides.
There you go. Evenly matched. But so far it is Canada with the early lead. Have only found that 1 miss on RyuK. Meanwhile, China, they've found 3. Yet again, it's only Z numbers holding on the no mod. This map is tough, especially with the Hard Rock. But there's plenty of time left in the map, 3 minutes and 25 seconds. Another miss comes out from RyuK this time. Not traded back, so China is going to be ever closer, but they need a lot of misses from Canada. There's one. Zylice does drop, but that is traded back, and now 2 FCs to 1, and it is MidC on the on the support. 2 misses now. PikaPwn and Lido missing again. So advantage over to China. We should see the score flip.
I'm surprised Crystal isn't playing it.
Yeah, I am as well. Crystal usually in for every map. Here's the flow aim section though. Claims 3 combos. 2 of them are on China, and xootynator yet again has not missed, facing off with Z numbers, but arguably slightly easier for Z numbers on the no mod compared to the Hidden from Zooty. And into this break, 165,000 points. It is far from insurmountable. China are absolutely in this match. All it takes is 1 miss from Zooty, and that score will flip in an instant.
Accuracy difference is pretty insane, though.
Yeah, that's a bit of a problem for China.
Over 100k score lead for Zooty against Z numbers just from accuracy alone. And not going to matter too much because Z number is going to be finding a miss after the break. No more combo on the side of China here for anybody. And, you know, the more maps get played, the more things stay the same. We're looking at this one player here.
She just does it every time. She has been on form this tournament, and this time around, the overmod paying off for Canada. Can she hit the ending, though? It is not easy by any means. Everybody else has missed. There goes Zooty in the end, but she has done more than enough, and that's going to be a consolidated breakpoint, a 2-0 lead for Canada. Now it's on China to find an angle back into this match. where do they go from here?
Yeah, lots of options for sure. Pretty good pick overall, though, I think. I mean, definitely looked a lot more comfortable on this map across the board. Obviously, we're just watching Zooty with this crazy score that she got, but overall, I mean, accuracies are pretty high here, I think. I'm wondering maybe if, you know, perhaps at this stage, China has an issue filling 4 players for aim or something like that, because could have made maybe a difference here to have a 4th score that's more in line with the rest of the lobby. So I'm curious to see maybe, you know, if Canada ends up picking more aim stuff like this, right? There's still hidden one that's a little bit similar to this as well. So wondering how that could go, but it is going to be China's pick now. So lots of things they could go over. It's worth pointing out, because it's not, you know, it's not just us talking about how good Zooty's been doing, but, you know, stats-wise, quarterfinals, Zooty 7th best player, round of 16, number 1, round of 32, number 4. Like, I think in qualifiers as well, number 15, like, just does not miss, ever. It's insane.
No, not so far this tournament, and certainly not so far in this match. On the side of China, it's been a little bit more balanced. I don't have the exact stats off the top of my head, but we saw MidC put up an insane performance, I think, in round of 32. The last 2 weeks, it's been Crystal that has really stepped up. David, not too far behind, so it's been a little bit more balanced from them. And at this point, I think you probably can't go back to that kind of aim control alt style, having lost the first one. I think now is the time to go into that tapping, and there it is, DT3. It's going to be a rival of tiers.
Yeah, I like this. This should be a good pick for them. I think if this works out, they're definitely going to look towards something like DT1, perhaps. DT2 has maybe a little bit of control, you could say. It's very, like, active rhythm, so it's not too much of a tapping pick, oddly enough. So maybe they won't really end up going for that. But yeah, I mean, on paper, this should be a pretty good pick for China here. I mean, if there's one hole in Canada's roster that I think a lot of people have pointed out is kind of unsure if they have a 4th player for, like, you know, late stage speed stuff. Not really a player that you'd you know, that comes to mind for them. So I think this is maybe where you'd start to see this being 300 BPM. Map itself is pretty straightforward, but that BPM with the amount of tapping there is in here can be a little intense.
I really want to keep an eye on Dwagon for this map. Had the 4th best score on the DT3 last week. Now, of course, they are slightly different, but one of those fill players that can really step up on these tapping picks is incredibly speedy. We've got a MidC in the lobby as well as Ledo. I imagine last player is going to be David.
Probably David, yeah.
Yeah.
For Canada here, I mean, of course, we're expecting RyuK for this one. I think that's a no-brainer, but likely, I think, to see PikaPwn and Nick, I would say.
Yeah, seems to make sense to me, and I think this is a must-win for China. If you're not winning this one, all of a sudden you're not so confident in the tapping. Z numbers make sense as well. Has played quite a bit of the you know, tapping for China, but the bigger surprise is Ledo, who really hasn't played the tapping so far in this tournament. It traditionally has been David instead, and not having the greatest score on that previous free mod 1. We'll look for something a little bit better. As you mentioned, Nick and PikaPwn, but if China don't win this one, all of a sudden you're not so comfortable picking tapping, you're not so comfortable picking aim control or aim, and it becomes really difficult to find a pick. So this is a very pivotal point in the match.
Yeah, I think they do. They need a good result here, I think, because otherwise there's not too much left, I think, that favors them. Maybe some of the tech picks they've been, you know, they've had good results, but against Canada, I think that's really scary. But yeah, we'll have to see if this ends up working out for them.
This is 300 BPM now. The bursts on this one do tend to be fairly dense. They are quite mashable, at least to me. So you don't necessarily have to be able to stream 300 BPM. You can mash your way through it. You're just going to tank the accuracy a little bit. We do see an early miss coming out of Nick, but this is quite the long map. Plenty of time for recovery. I want to take a look at the accuracies, and so far is a slightly to Canada, but do expect to see some recoveries on the accuracy, and as the map really starts to pick up here into this first KI, we'll start to see some accuracies drop as we get one miss traded back now from China, and Canada is going to hold on to that lead for the time being.
Yeah, still pretty early on, but I think the accuracies are going to tell a pretty strong story here, I think, of how just, how comfortable it is for this type of map. It doesn't really stop too much, right? Maybe it doesn't have streams all the time, but lots of really, really active tapping at 300, especially for people single tapping, can be pretty rough at this BPM. So far, I mean, with RyuK finding a miss, it's looking pretty equalized. Going to slowly go back in China's favor, but strong accuracy lead still for the Canadian team here. Could very well still change. We're not even halfway in, so.
Yeah, but that's the concern right now. It's China with 3 players down at 94%, only being matched by RyuK. Everybody else are right around that 96, 97 mark. Osu is a combo game though, and there's still half the map to go, and there is still 3 big combos on either team. Nick doesn't quite have the FC, but a big enough combo to make the difference. There's the double miss coming out from Canada. Now it's just Zylice holding. One traded back from China, but it's not going to be enough for Canada to hold on to the lead, and now Dwagon and Z numbers are going to really push this advantage. MidC not too far behind. There is one FC down, but they still on 2 big combos, and it is traded back by Zylice. So all of a sudden, Canada falling apart into the second half of this map.
Z numbers with a 92% carry. We love to see it. Oh, and all right, it's gone, but they've done the work. Hopefully it's enough. I mean, not really any combos on anybody at this point. So, I mean, accuracy going to start to matter a little bit more, but lead is still, 200k is kind of a lot with this much of the map remaining when how little combo there is left. Gonna find a couple more misses for the Chinese players here, but
yeah, into the ending.
Don't know if there's time. It actually kind of looks like there is.
Yeah, it's going to be close into the ending. We're going to want to look out for any big chain misses, any massive accuracy drops that could tank the score for either team. If China can hold on to their combos, they should hold on to this one, but all it takes is a couple chain misses from Ledo and Z numbers to turn this one right back around, but it's going to be a miss from PikaPwn, miss from Z numbers. Canada or China, have they done enough? The map is quickly coming to an end. The score lead is shrinking, but Canada are nearly out of time. The misses are not coming for China. They hold on to their combos. Have they done it? It's going to be down to the second. Yes, they have. They finally get a point on the board. 47,000 points the difference on that one. That was a nail biter.
Man, you can see the BPM on this is so rough for so many people. The accuracies are really low across the board here. I mean, for a semis map, but China's still gonna, keep it together up until the very end. It was enough. I don't think it was as decisive as they would have liked it to be, but good that they have a point on this one now, and I think they're probably gonna end up looking at more tapping, or what is left of it in this pool anyways. DT1 does have a decent amount of it as well, so a good option for them. But before we get to that, going back over to Canada's pick real quick, and gonna have to wonder if they choose to go for more aim type stuff. I mean, I think the creator looks pretty juicy for them right now. I think fits a lot of their skill sets pretty well, so could consider that.
Yeah,
but honestly, a lot of the hiddens and free mods are looking pretty good for them as well right now. They still have a lot of picks.
Exactly. Hidden one was banned out against them last week. Now they have the chance to pick it. It is, as we've mentioned, the skill set they have been the strongest on, but free mods as well. I do think the free mod 4 is a little bit dubious, and they're going to go for the hard rock one instead, something we've not seen very often from this Canadian roster. It is still the aim, but hard rock, unusual for them. We're going to see, I imagine, pretty similar lineups to the free mod one on both teams.
I think you're probably seeing DarkKarate step in for this one. He's basically on the roster for maps like this. So I'd be surprised if they don't put him in. Probably Zooty as well, and RyuK as well, I think, is going to be the last 2 people for them. So I think pretty comfortable roster for them. This map, I think, being... it looks really scary on stream because there's so much, like, micro aim control, like almost awkward aim in this. I think the map is a little bit easier than a lot of the other things in this pool, though. So nice little comfortable map for most of it. Nice to have if it's a map of your skill set. if we do see DarkKarate come in as well, I think it might be a nice little like redemption for him. Last week, he was brought in for first map No Mod 5, which was the reading map, and I think that brought him down a little bit, spirit-wise. So maybe looking to make a better debut in this match here. And on the side of China, I mean, I think for their Hard Rock rosters, they've kind of swapped around a little bit depending on what's in this map. But I mean, I think Z Number's been playing pretty well. Of course, you're going to see Crystal for this one. What do you think is a fourth?
Fourth is not entirely clear. My guess is going to be David on this one. Has been playing Hard Rocks a lot on the free mods for China. Not in this match necessarily, but at least in previous weeks. So especially on an aim map, I think David is quite strong on the aim picks. And there's David in this map. As you mentioned, quite a lot of that, I guess you could call it micro aim control. A lot of very large jumps that are very tricky, and while the map itself is a fair bit easier, all it takes is one miss in the middle of the map, and all of a sudden you're out of it just like that.
You blink and you can lose like 200k on this. It's pretty rough. You have to be very, very awake for the whole thing. Very, very aware. It's definitely a little bit of a focus map, but not too uncommon in OWC here, so.
Something all of these players should have experiences with. No surprises, we're going to see early misses coming out from both teams. Getting the nerfs out, getting settled into the map. But DarkKarate with some early struggles. Crystal the same. Slightly concerning already. But as long as that remains an even trade, neither team will really feel the effects.
I think the precision part of this map, not that it's really a precision map, but at the CS, I think when you play an OWC, it's easy to, with nerves and all that, definitely ends up affecting the map a lot more, so.
Crystal finds yet another miss, not traded back by DarkKarate this time, it's traded back by Zooty instead. Now Z Numbers is going to miss, as do Nick and Zylice, and it's actually a full reset for Canada, so China, they have a chance to really push this lead. David does drop, but Milk Teeth, the last one standing with half of the map to go, has a chance to just run away with this one, but it's only 76,000 points in the lead. If we see that full combo drop off, Canada are right back in the map.
A pretty lengthy slow section here. I mean, this is so good for Milk Tea, just being able to build this up for free pretty much, and no one's matching, so big lead being built for China here. We have one more, I guess like core section coming up here, and then a big change and a big diff spike at the end, so it's definitely not over yet, but China looking really good on this right now.
Yeah. Real test is this next section. 2 combos traded, neither of them were the big ones. There's the FC gone from China. It is only Crystal holding. In Canada, they have 2 combos, Zooty being matched by Crystal, but it's Zylice who has the support, trying to bring this one back, but it's not a big advantage. The support from Canada continue to miss, and there goes Zylice. They couldn't afford to drop that one. And now Crystal just needs to hold a little bit longer to secure this point for China.
Yeah, it's pretty much all on Crystal at the end here. Lead is not too high for how much is left in the map. Both Zooty and Crystal here are going to have to hold on this ending here. It gets really hard, so having the combo here going to matter a lot as we get into the ending. Still holding for both of them. Everyone else is unable to hit anything. We're getting the last hard part here. Crystal is still going. 100k and rising lead for China here, so maybe a good break point here for them.
Yeah, Crystal has done it. China are going to get their break point back, and all of a sudden they are right back in this match.
Very good. I mean, honestly, a little bit unexpected with how that free mod 1 went last time. I mean, China looked a little bit, worse on the aim style picks here, but maybe that was just a fluke. I mean, Crystal definitely came here to play. I mean, Milk Tea doing really, really good on this one as well. So very, very good for China finding a break point here. We've mentioned, we're not really sure if they have too many picks in this pool or what's even left. So the fact that they're able to get a point on something that I think we would both say is Canada favored is really good for them. So, and on top of that, is their pick now too. So, finding themselves in a really, really good footing after that one. I think that opens up a lot more options for them just to know that they can win a map like that.
It certainly does, and I do feel that was a bit of a mispick from Canada. You know, China first picked the Hard Rock one last week. It's certainly not a map, kind of a style of map they're uncomfortable on, and so I think Canada very easily could have left that for later in the match had it been necessary. But picking it early and getting punished. Now China want to capitalize on this momentum. They've now won 2 maps in a row. If they can find the right pick, they can make it 3, and all of a sudden the momentum would be entirely in their favor. They still have the DT pool almost entirely available, obviously outside of that DT3. And as we mentioned earlier, I think potentially the DT2 and the DT1 could both be good picks for China here.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think I'm looking at the rest of the pool, and I don't really see better options. Maybe Nomad 4 actually. They'd have a pretty good fight on. That map is pretty difficult though. I think it really relies on like standout carry performances. So it really depends on who's feeling good. Nomad 5 though. Okay. Lovely Ice Cream Princess Sweetie for China. Not the team I would expect to pick this. But I mean, this should be a map that I think, you know, there's so many, you know, tournament veterans on both of these teams that have been playing for, you know, 5+ years now. I think everyone should have played this a billion times already in community tournaments and stuff like this. So even though this is absolutely, you know, such a memory map, not so much the reading part of it. Like there's a lot of these overlaps. You kind of just have to sit down and learn them. But they've had a very long time to do that. So.
Yeah, it's a very entertaining map to watch, that's for sure, but I can't say I'm so confident in this pick. I think, at the very least, knowing Canada is incredibly strong on maps like this, you need to pick it right now, even if you picked it at some point. Regardless, maybe they will prove us wrong. We are going to see MidC come in for the first time this match. I imagine it is going to be Z Numbers, Crystal, and either David or MilkTea. I think both of them could play this one for China.
I honestly don't know who plays this on Canada. Not gonna lie. I mean, Zooty probably does. I mean, I don't even know if Zooty's like sat for any single non-speed map in this entire tournament. But I mean, it is, you know, it's a type of map that I think everyone can kind of play if you give it enough tries. So I think this is just going to be more so about like who's more familiar with it. I mean, I think a lot of people would assume CutPaper is going to play this one, but I think CutPaper lately, I think doesn't have too much time for practice and stuff. So maybe hasn't had the time to learn this one. We'll have to see if they choose him for the 4th player. It looks like they will. But the rest of the roster being Nick, PikaPwn, and Zylice for Canada here. So Zooty will not be playing this.
Yeah, it's not necessarily her style of reading map, and as you mentioned, this map really does take a lot of practice, a lot of memorization, and so for a player like Zooty, when you have to practice probably almost every other map in the pool, maybe you don't necessarily want to dedicate the amount of time it takes to learn a map like this. So gonna be out for this one. China, a very scary roster. I mean, MidC is pretty much what they're on the roster for, these kind of incredibly awkward reading picks. And we'll see if they can continue this momentum as we get into the overlap reading Nomad. Very different style of reading from what we've seen so far.
I think this has potential to be so good for China here if they can take this as well. Like you said, like the momentum they're on right now is pretty good, and the only one really competing with it, again, it's who would have thought it's Zooty for the Canadian team here. So you know, finding a map that she's not in for might be really beneficial if they can actually take this one away. I think a lot of people are probably also looking at MidC for this, so I'll have to see if they can have their performance. I believe this is the first map that MidC's playing this match as well. Same with CutPaper.
Yes, it is. We already see early misses. Nick struggling a little bit with the accuracy, but is recovering. We do see quite a few early misses. There are going to be a lot of misses throughout this map. It is a long and incredibly difficult one. The patterns do not get any easier, but at least out of the intro, it is going to be China with the slight advantage. It is PikaPwn up against Crystal and MidC. So the reading fill player Strong start for China. It's another miss from Zylice in Canada. Not looking as comfortable on the map as we would have expected. Need to see some recoveries out of them. Nick has recovered nicely, but that's the FC gone, and all of a sudden, Canada, no full combos left. It's pretty much just Nick.
That's so sad for PikaPwn, actually. Just landing all the reading parts and just missing 2 very simple notes there. So, gonna not be too happy with this one. And, I mean, Crystal keeping up with MidC here. I mean, something that's pretty interesting with this style of map as well as when people actually sit down to practice it is generally, like, you know, by nature, you'll be a lot more familiar with the earlier parts of the map. So later on, people could fall apart a little bit. So I'm curious to see just how much they've actually practiced this, because there's some really tricky sections near the end of this that are way harder than everything else on the map. That being one of them there. And it's not a problem for Crystal. However, MidC will be breaking the second full combo that they have. I think they're still looking okay.
Crystal, it's a really big miss. All of a sudden, it's just MilkTea, but CutPaper trades it back. That's not a combo you could afford to lose. PikaPwn is on the recovery, but unless we see the miss coming out from MilkTea soon, they're just going to fall farther and farther behind. So far, this match getting flipped on its head. We do see another miss from MidC, but had already missed. That's not a combo that really matters. Crystal again, but again, had already dropped. It's all eyes on MilkTea in the top left corner for China.
Yeah, I think this section coming up can be pretty hard, I think. This and the ending steps up the reading a little bit here, so... Oh. Kurumi? No, not Kurumi. MilkTea will be finding a miss, but they've built up a pretty good lead, I think, with how much is left. I mean, it's pretty much just PikaPwn to fight back, and I mean, David's been, you know, pulling the weight here. We haven't even mentioned him too much, but I mean, after MidC Crystal broke, David's still looking good. 600 and climbing.
Yeah, PikaPwn is on a really big combo, though. If David misses, Canada has a chance, but the miss is going to need to come in the next 10 seconds. They're very quickly running out of time, and the script is just getting flipped on its head here. China looking like they're going to be able to take this one for 3 points in a row. They just need to hold on a tiny bit longer to secure it. There's a miss, but I don't think there's going to be enough time. The score lead is going to shrink, and despite the best efforts from PikaPwn, that will be a 3rd point in a row in favor of China.
Okay, does PikaPwn only have 2 misses?
I think so. It's just that one section.
It was literally just that one section. Man, that's got to be pretty rough. I mean, hit every other part. I'm not sure if he got a slider break at some other point, but
I don't think so.
Just 2 aim misses there would have made the difference in score as well. So a little bit unfortunate, but I mean, for China's side, this is great. I mean, a lot of points back to back here. The momentum is going crazy for them.
Yeah, I mean, China has banned out the Hard Rock 3. They've picked and won the No Mod 5. I mean, I clearly know nothing about these two teams, Acer. I don't know what to tell you. All my prep before this match, out the window.
I mean, I think for a map like this, I think it's very map dependent. Because this is... I would say this is just homework, this type of map, right? Like, there's so many people that are able to play it. It's just a matter of putting in the time, and you don't really know how much time, you know, people have put in individually on it. So it can vary a lot. But Canada going to be going for more aim. No Mod 1 Warcry here. I guess. Yeah. I mean, I guess we'd call this aim. I don't know. This map is many things.
It is definitely aim.
Probably still the dominantly aim though, but bit of a stamina map for single tappers this one.
Yeah, potentially some aim stamina as well. I don't know if there's any mouse players, but mouse drift really tough on this map. I mean, there's just continuous jumps. You really don't get any break whatsoever. A few tough slider jumps and a bit of rhythmic ending, but overall just continuous awkward jump patterns. And we've seen Canada look good on the aim before. I think not having to play the Hard Rock is going to be better for them, but Now it's on Canada, right? You can't afford to give up another break point. Losing 4 points in a row would likely spell the end here, and so they need to fire back now.
I wonder, like, to me, this pick really has to work for Canada here. I mean, it's not really what I would expect. You know, maybe you're right. Maybe somehow I don't even know these two teams very well, because I mean, not that Canada's not able to play aim super good, but you definitely pin them as having a gigantic advantage over so many other teams on a lot of the hiddens, a lot of the free mods, and they're not really touching any of those here. Just, you know, third pick here, all three of them being aim. Still potentially have a fourth and hidden one as well if they choose to play that one. So it's not really like the draft I had in mind for them, but maybe there's some information I don't know. But who knows? This will have to work for them, I think, because China with a lead in this match now with a couple of the break points they got. So
yes, it will. And in our defense, it's not just us, right? 92% of pick'ems have Canada winning this match, and right now they're on the back foot. They're the ones who desperately need a point on the no mod 1, and they need to pull out something here because they are quickly letting this match slip away. Let's see if they can bring it back on Warcry. Zooty, Nick, Zylice, PikaPwn for Canada. Meanwhile, it is David, Milk Tea Crystal, and Z numbers, or, you know, sad numbers for us Canadians, for China.
in case you haven't seen this map gives you no breaks at all. There's exactly two, you know, short breaks in this where you don't have continuous tapping in the 3.5 minutes of this. There's only 2 of them for the entire map. So pretty crazy stamina check if you're a single tapper here. I think if you're more comfortable with alternating and stuff, not as big of a worry, but very much a straining map, this one. Bit of a marathon, so have to see if they can keep up until the end here. Gonna find 2 misses on the 3 misses for the Canadian team early on here, so kind of looking good again.
Yeah, not off to such a hot start. Thankfully, 3 of those misses were traded back, so Canada will hold on to their lead this time around. It is just Milk Tea up against xootynator, but Nick and Zylice both on decent recoveries, as are 2 of the Chinese players here, and it's a pretty consistent map in terms of difficulty, so lots of places to break, but there's no one spot you expect to see big misses, so it is really just going to be that consistency battle as Crystal drops the supporting combo.
Yeah, so much could change on this map though. This early part we're kind of just setting up for, you know, just how much combo you can really carry on until the end, but again, it doesn't come across when you're not really playing this, but the fatigue sets in really quick on this one with how much, you know, pretty precise aim. Well, not really in the traditional sense of precision, but a lot of the movements here are very, very, you know, exact, I would say. Like, you really have to look at every single object here. It's a lot of mental strain to play this as well, but as we get a little bit over halfway in here, still looking good for Team Canada. Zooty, of course, but Zylice with the solid backup combo here managed to recover from the miss early on, and China still kind of struggling to find a footing on this one, so giving Canada a solid lead for the first time in a couple maps now.
Yeah, they needed to hold on to that full combo from Milk Tea, but dropping just after that halfway mark, not really much support there now, and Canada starting to run away with this. It looks like they're going to be able to tie things up 3-3 with 300,000 points in the lead. They just need to hold on a little bit longer to close this one out, and we'll see if Zooty can pull off another big score, as she's done so many times in this match. Zylice looking really good as well.
I need to see the ending. If Zooty carries on this FC up until the end, ending has a few rhythm changes here that can drop hack, so we gotta see it. But yeah, I mean, Zylice gonna find a break, but definitely did the work. I mean, this map is way more than over at this point. And, you know, I gotta say it again. I mean, no matter how many maps fly by, we're still kind of just looking at Zooty carrying every single map. I mean, only 100.
It's at a 3x100, 4x100
4x100
on that map. That is easily the best score on that map we have seen so far this weekend, and I suspect it's going to continue to be.
Yeah, not a lot of things that can make you drop your accuracy on this, but it's still, it's so long. It's so straining. 400 on this is pretty crazy. I agree. I'm not sure if we'll really see anybody beat this, but there's a lot of good teams we haven't seen play yet. So
yep.
Perhaps. So it's good to see that the aim has finally worked out here for Team Canada. They still have one aim map left in Hidden 1 if they want to choose for to go for that, but evening out the match here 3-3. They're gonna have 2 picks remaining on each side here, so wonder what China is gonna go with. Of course, we've been talking about DT1 a lot, but maybe them winning Hard Rock 1 might change some things, but not really a lot of other maps like it remaining in the pool. I'd say if they choose anything, it's probably going to be a Nomad 4 or one of the DTs still.
Yeah, they've been a bit more hesitant than we would have expected to opt into this DT pool. Of course, like the Hard Rocks for them, but they're out of Hard Rock maps. One of those banned out by Canada, one of those banned out by China. The other one, they won, and so, as you said, there's the Nomad 4. Potentially there's a Nomad 2. I think that would be an incredibly risky pick that they don't need to go for. And I don't think they're realistically looking to pick either of the 3 mods into Canada. There's finally one of the GTs, and it's going to be the DT4. This is an interesting one, AR 10.5. This one, not a skill set that's commonly practiced, but I do think both teams have players that could be strong on this kind of thing. I mean, of course, RyuK for Canada as well as Zylice, but on China, I think potentially Dwagon could be solid on something like this.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I know the full rosters for this one on both sides. I mean, this map is so, unconventional for what we usually see. I think for both teams here, I don't think they'll have a full 4 roster on a map like this. Just a combination of how much control is needed in this, a lot of alt patterns, but just again, AR 10.5 on this is pretty rough. So gonna have to see. I think for both sides here, we're just gonna be looking at mostly 2 or 3 players. We're gonna be see Saryi come in. Saryi so far this tournament, she's kind of just only been playing these types of maps, I think. The alt DT is definitely something that she's known for, so I guess going to be stepping in for this one. 10.5 not going to be a barrier for her. And I mean, I think probably RyuK. RyuK going to step in, yeah. DarkKarate going to be the 4th for Canada.
Yeah, China less clear about their roster.
Very much unclear. Let's see. I mean, we can go through the list. I mean, I don't think Crystal's gonna be playing this. No. Maybe too much. I don't know. Okay.
All right.
Well, Crystal is going to be playing this.
Crystal.
Okay.
My best guess is
probably David.
Dwagon, but could be David as well. It really depends. It's so hard to know who actually plays 10.5 because almost nobody does. And right, you are. David is in the lobby for China.
The big 4 though for China. I mean, this is definitely the lineup with the the scariest names, that's for sure. Like the 4 people you're really thinking of when you think of China's OWC team. So gonna have to show us what they can do on a map like this, which I guess we haven't really seen too much of yet. So loading into this now. At least they had a good map going into this before. Like if we had like a low AR pick before this, and then you have to go straight into like a pretty low BPM AR 10.5. Really rough, but had some time to warm up, I guess, with the Nomad 1 before this one. So
yeah, as much warm up as a Nomad 1 can be for AR 10.5. This map is a bit of everything too. You've got your aim control, you've got your finger control, you've got your slider tech, I guess you can call it. 2 misses, 1 from each team. Gonna keep things nice and even, at least in the start. But this one feels especially fast because of the AR, and again, because of the AR 10.5, you can see some very low accuracies if anyone is uncomfortable. We see DarkKarate down at 91, Zylice down at 92, And China actually looking much stronger on the accuracy. That's going to keep them in the lead for now, as we have seen a couple misses from both teams, but mostly inconsequential as they have been early enough. And we're seeing a bunch of misses all over the place. I think that's a real one coming out from Kurumi. That one is going to matter as Canada have managed to hold on to their combos, and we'll see if they can take back over this score lead. Not going to be the case as RyuK trades it right back, as does Zylice, and now China really going to start to push the score lead.
We are so clueless, I mean, it's like, oh yeah, Crystal's probably not playing this, and he's carrying. You can never count on Crystal for anything. Lesson to be learned every year, apparently. No matter how many other players we can talk about, still gonna show up. I don't even know how many years now. Is it the 8th year for Crystal or something?
Yeah, something close to that. And a very scary prospect for Canada. DarkKarate, the only one holding on 89% accuracy. Meanwhile, trying to fend off Crystal, David, and MidC, who are all on 97. This is going to take a miraculous performance from DarkKarate and a lot of support in order for Canada to take this one back. Looking like a really good pick from China. There goes Crystal finally, but the support is there. The difference isn't going to matter all that much, and I think David, MidC are going to close this one out without too much trouble.
Yeah, you can look at the combos and say, oh, maybe there's a chance, but I mean, DarkKarate's got 87% with this combo here, and the ending part is going to be a little slower here. So much less combo to catch up on at the end. I think this should wrap it up for China here. So the DT looking good, and that misread is going to catch a lot of people here. So the fact that they're holding their combos through this one, pretty damn good. So again, DT working out for China so far. I mean, maybe not the one we were talking about, but I guess we learned some things today. China is not to be reckoned with on this roster. It's actually a really good team score, like not just in this match, but like overall. It's pretty up there. This map is really hard. 2.8 million on this is way higher than I think anyone would expect.
Very impressive score, and 500,000 point lead for China there. My faith in my prep has been slightly restored as the DTs have looked good for them as expected, but Canada, they still have the hidden 1. And I believe they still have the hidden 3 as well, so a couple good options for them. Now, hidden 3 is tech, so not necessarily something that Canada likes to play. They really much prefer those aim-focused maps, those alt-focused maps, as opposed to the kind of tech, really. But HD3 is aim-control tech rather than slider tech, which I think is going to feel a little bit better for Canada. And I think at this point, either of those would be good options for them. They have really liked the anti-mod free mod so far in this tournament as well, especially with xootynator having incredible performances on it so far. I think getting the top score with Hidden Hard Rock on the anti-mod last week. But this one is CS 5.5 AR 8.5, so it's not quite the typical anti-mod we see where it's AR 8. So we'll see. I think those are the 3 options though: free mod 2, hidden 1, hidden 3.
Completely agree with you. They are going to pick free mod 2 though. But I do think this hidden 3 is actually pretty good for them. I think this type of like very flowy, more tapping focused map, extremely good for a lot of people on the roster. Like Zooty loves those, Zylice loves those, PikaPwn really loves those. So potentially a really good map for them here. Maybe we may or may not get to see it, because they're gonna go for free mod 2. So we're gonna be seeing, I think on this one, surely on this one, it's gonna be Zooty at HDHR. I've seen some things. Definitely a bit of a scary performance in some of the practice lobbies on this one. But definitely more focused on everyone else for this type of map. It has been a little bit like divisive, I'd say, like for players. It's such a very niche specific type of map, especially when it comes to Hard Rock. Like we have seen a couple of people really struggle on landing good Hard Rock scores on this, because each slider on this individually requires so much control. So depending on who's your Hard Rock fill, I think the skill set it requires can be pretty tough. So I wonder if China's going to be able to find a player that matches that. If it's going to be MidC or David or what.
Yeah, has been David previous weeks, was MidC on the previous free mod, but ultimately I think both David and MidC have been playing quite solidly today. And so I think whoever's feeling better on the map, put them on the gnome mod, let them put up a big score, and just kind of let the other one suffer a little on that hard rock. You don't really, I think, expect all that much score out of your hard rock player on this map. You just want, you know, a solid, hopefully 300 to 400k out of them, and let your no mod players do the work. Or in Canada's case, let your hidden hard rock player do the work. Is that going to be the dream?
Yeah, I think, well, definitely not going to be seeing any hidden overmods on this, because the pretty intense aim control can be really hard at this AR. It's extremely dense for some patterns with CS as well, so I could maybe see some hard rock overmods just as like a not really a comfort pick, but I think for some people or some teams it's going to be easier to fill 4 people if you just have them play on the harder hard rock. This on Nomad is pretty dense, so curious to see how many mods end up happening here. And it looks like China's going to use a timeout to figure it out.
Yeah,
so I guess that gives us some more time to also try to figure it out, although we don't have a good track record.
Not so far. And look, I gotta defend this a little bit. Okay, these two teams have so many players that can play any mod. Pretty much the only constant is that Zooty will be on hidden. Otherwise, I mean, we've seen multiple players take hard rock for China on the free mods. We've seen multiple players take hidden for China on the free mods, and the same is true for Canada. I do think this is a smart timeout for China. They know this is a pivotal point. They know that Canada is getting much later into their picks, and it's kind of, as you get farther into the picks, you're less confident that you'll win them over your opponent, and so China really would like to get a break point on this one, close it out on their next pick, and given how many different mod options or potential combinations of mods they could run, I think it's worth taking the time to figure out who's feeling good, who do you want on the no mod to put up that big score, and who are you going to throw on the hard rock to kind of just try their best to put up the score. And so I really like this timeout from China. Canada, of course, going to hop out of the lobby as well to get a bit of practice in before we start.
No, I don't think this is going to happen, but there is a chance. I think there's a small chance for Team Canada here. Obviously going to be running Zooty on the HHR. I think that's a no-brainer, but I think you might also be seeing Saryi on the HCHR on this. I think I could see that happening. Saryi is known to have a lot of, very weird, unique scores on maps like this. Very common name to see on the leaderboards for a lot of these. So it's an option. I don't know if it's an option they're going to go with, because it is a little bit risky with how hard this gets. But mostly just curious about the hidden choice here. I think on both sides, a few pretty good options. I think for Canada, I would probably expect CutPaper, but I think this might have too much aim. So I'm not too sure.
So. And look, it is an option to have Saryi on the hidden hard rock. Doesn't look like they're going to go for it. I'm happy to see it. I think Canada's 1 point they lost against Poland in that round of 16 match was because they tried to overmod with an extra hidden hard rock when they didn't need to, and it didn't pay off for them. Let's see if they want to overmod yet again, as they love to do so much. It may pain me, but here we go into free mod 2. We're about to see the mod combinations. Hidden hard rock as expected for Zooty, hidden for CutPaper, and it's just going to be hard rock. Crystal, yeah, and hidden on David. So no overmods on either team. Yes, Zooty does have one extra mod, but she was taking hard rock anyways, and at that point hidden is just a comfort mod for her. Here we go.
Oh man, settling into a map like this again. I guess they had the break to probably warm up for it, but it's so dense. The AR is really low, so I mean, other than Zooty and Crystal playing on hard rock, I think here a bit of a tone shift going from all the previous maps we've played.
Yeah, and it's misses across the board. CutPaper, Zylice, the two to hold on to their full combos for Canada. So holding on to that hidden combo is going to be really nice. It's going to give Canada a little bit of extra score multiplier, but it is very scary because it is incredibly easy, especially on some of these zigzag aim control patterns, to drop off that hidden combo, but CutPaper looking strong so far, and the rest of Canada on good recoveries. Crystal has found multiple misses, but there goes a full combo from Canada as Zylice drops on the Nomad, but misses from China. Going to even things out as Canada are off to a really strong lead at the start, and we're already a quarter of the way into the map.
China finding a lot of misses that, I mean, for Crystal it makes sense, but the wiggle streams, I think, is not really a place where I would expect like the non-hard rocks to miss on. So I think MidC finding a miss there is going to be pretty impactful if they want to have any chance at catching up here. But yeah, the rest of Canada looking good here. I mean, Zylice only had one tiny break on a slider, but Nick and CutPaper looking really good. Nick gonna find a miss on this part. It's the hardest part of the map probably, so it's acceptable, but built up a pretty solid lead here. I mean, even with Zooty struggling, you know, we've been talking so much about how important she's been to this roster and how much, you know, carrying she's been doing, but even on an off map like this where you're forced to run a much harder mod and run the hard rock on this, having good backing here on this team for CutPaper and Zylice doing really good, so good to see.
Yeah, and Crystal, xootynator have been the 2 stars for these 2 teams so far in this tournament. You don't expect your hard rock players to top score, you just want them to beat the other hard rock player, and 300,000 points is the lead. Z Numbers does have a big combo ready to capitalize if CutPaper finds a miss, but CutPaper has looked incredible so far, still around that 99% accuracy. Zooty does find another miss as well as Nick, but Zylice is there with the support, and it's not going to be enough to make a huge dent in Canada. It really has to be CutPaper. Crystal does drop as well, and I think Canada could be able to secure this point if CutPaper can hold on for another 10 seconds. Really just needs to hit this last pattern, and the combos are dropping off of China. Support gone from Canada, though. It is all on CutPaper, and it looks like CutPaper has done it. Put the team on his back, and it's going to be all tied up 4-4.
And Z Numbers had a really good run on this one too. Finding the Nomad FC, I mean, the score's a little bit low because of the accuracy, but able to keep up on this map. Although CutPaper with the mod advantage and the mod advantage and the accuracy on this definitely making a huge difference here. One of the only maps we've seen so far in this match that's pretty one-sided, I would say. We've only seen like 1 or 2 other ones that, you know, were pretty decisive. So definitely something that Canada needs right now. I mean, you know, almost going up to match point here, all tied up again, 4-4, with the pool being as depleted as it is. And I'd say that was a pretty interesting map to watch. I mean, a lot of the, you know, carry players that we've been talking about actually weren't really a highlight on this one. It was definitely more about some other players, some newer ones that we haven't really gotten to see shine on any of these other maps, right? So I guess that's kind of what happens when, you know, both Crystal and Zooty are gonna have to take hard rock on this. But yeah, as you can see, it's a little bit harder than the rest. So able to find that point there is gonna be good for them. And now we're right back again to China's pick, and it gets harder and harder every time here. I mean, maybe we're just wrong about this DT1 and DT2 being good for them, but I mean, they've had pretty good, solid victories on the other ones, the other 2 DTs that were picked. So, I mean, we just gotta say it again. I mean, with 1 pick remaining, still looking good for them.
Yeah, starting to feel like a bit of a broken record here, but this DT1 and DT2, I mean, at this point, if you're trying to flip a coin and take your pick of DTs, I mean, there is the no mod force technically. Okay. There's a bit of reach. Okay, finally getting DT2 quite happy. This is going to be your Speed Tech DT map, and this is the kind of map that Zylice and RyuK could put up incredibly good scores on, but again, this is not the speed roster, speed team from Canada that we've seen in previous years. I do think this is a good pick for China, but you certainly can't count Canada out on this one.
Yeah, I think Zylice is going to do good on this no matter what. However, I think finding 4 players on the side of Canada might be a little bit complicated. I'm not sure if RyuK, as of late, you know, he's not really playing too much speed, I would say. So even though, you know, on the WBC and stuff, we're kind of used to seeing him do good on all the speed maps ever. You know, earlier on when a speedier map was picked in this match, I don't think you know, we had the results that were expected. So I'll have to see if he can change that on this one. But I'm mostly looking at probably PikaPwn on this. PikaPwn and Nick are gonna have to show up on this if they want to have a chance at winning this one. But I mean, on China's side, I mean, all 4 players that played TT4 did so good. So I'm wondering if there's a little bit of overlap there. This map is a lot more straightforward. It is, however, very active in rhythm. If you haven't really gotten to see this yet, it's not really pure speed or stamina or anything. It's just really fast. A lot of changes happening all the time. So.
And Dwagon was that top performer for China last week on the Speed DT. Very scary player to go up against on a map like this. Z numbers as well. And then, of course, they have their kind of tried and true core in David and MidC. They've been nearly perma-lobbied. Here comes RyuK for Canada as well.
They pretty much have been. I think they both missed like 1 map each or something.
Yeah.
Very, very well-rounded players. And they've been, you know, that's so valuable to have, actually, just having like that core player that can play everything and, you know, play well and carry some of them as well. So very useful for China here. I mean, I'm definitely looking at Z numbers for this one as well. We've had some really good standout performances on a couple of the maps, but probably Dwagon. You've been hyping this guy up for sure. We haven't really gotten to see too much of Dwagon's type of map, so I think if there's ever a time to show it off, it's probably now. Because I mean, I think with the maps that are remaining and how, you know, assuming last map is probably a hidden map, you know, considering how those have been going, I think China really needs this if they want to get to TB or have a chance. So really, really important pick for them here.
Yeah, and this is potentially one of the easier maps in the pool. We've seen some very high scores on it so far, with 3 teams getting above 3.5 mil, although they are some of the best speed teams in the tournament. To be fair, I don't expect to see 3.5 out of either of those teams, but we'll see what they can do. One of these 2 teams is going to be on match point. It is going to be China finding the first miss. MidC drops off early. No misses from Canada, and Dwagon, not really the player you want to see, finding a couple misses there. And Canada are in the driver's seat. PikaPwn does trade 1 back. But a bit of an easier section now. That is going to let Canada push this score lead just a little bit farther. And it's going to be all eyes on this next KI section. Here we go.
Yeah, not the start that they would have liked to have here for China. A lot of really misses and pretty lower accuracies on this, but might just be, you know, a question of you know, settling in on a type of map like this. So still some room to change. We're only about halfway in here, about to get into another section here. We've seen a couple of misreads on these.
There's the big miss from Zylice now. And Nick, so it's 2 full combos gone from Canada. China gonna take over this lead in an instant. They've got really good recoveries. Dwagon finds the miss, but so does PikaPwn. That's gonna be a trade that's not gonna favor Canada. And now it's RyuK.
Oh,
no,
the collapse,
RyuK is
all
gone.
4.
It's all falling apart for Canada and China. They're very likely going to be on match point. It would take an absolute meltdown as the combos are massive.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be it's shaping up to maybe even be 1 million lead on this here for China, which, I mean, I would say it's kind of expected for how good the, you know, or how advantageous tapping seems to be for this team. So it took a couple maps to start picking it. 9 maps in here, and, you know, maybe they weren't prioritizing it, but maybe we were right about the tapping tapping maps I played.
Yeah, you know, our prep might have been better than their own. Where were these picks, you know, 3 maps ago? Regardless, China do find the picks, at least at some point, and that's going to be a very impressive team score from China. 3.2 million, and Canada didn't stand a chance. Now they have to find the right pick. They're going to go very quickly into the hidden one. This is the pick we've been waiting for, and this is going to be hidden alts or snap aim, you could say.
Okay, this might backfire, but I think I know what they're doing. I think they were saving this for last, as like a safety thing. You know, if you're down on match point, you need a comfy pick. in order that you get the TB, I think this is going to be it.
Yeah, I think this is a good pick for Canada. But they're going to be nervous. If Canada were to lose this map, it would be their worst placement in OWC since 2017, 7 years ago. They're going to be nervous. They're feeling the pressure. It'd be an incredibly tough loss this early on in the tournament. But that's where we're at.
It's definitely worth pointing the opposite side of that too. I mean, China lately, not really been a team that people would really consider to be like high tier, I'd say. Like people always kind of expect them to be around this range, like, you know, 16 to top 12 or something like that. And I think every single time they always show that they're way better than that, right? So I think it would be also be pretty good for the Chinese team here to be able to advance past this and see what they can put up after this. I believe the winner of this would go against UK, if I'm not wrong.
UK, you are correct. And yeah, I completely agree. Crystal, MidC could put up some incredibly good scores on this. These are the kind of maps they are also very strong on, and so there's going to be a lot of pressure on both teams, I think, for China, MidC, Crystal, and for Canada, Xooty, CutPaper. Those are going to be the players to watch out for. And of course, the support is going to matter quite a bit. We're going to see Ledo come in again. Very interesting. Not a player we've seen all that much in this match, but has had some decent supporting scores.
I'm going to go back to something I said at the start of this, where we're talking about last week how Canada basically matched the USA on so many picks last round. It was very, very close. The fact that these teams are in these positions right now where China's actually got an advantage over Canada and we're potentially looking at a tiebreaker between them should also speak volumes about how good China is playing right now. It's pretty insane to see.
Certainly is. Good luck, have funs in the chat. And Canada's hopes rest on these 4 players. No CutPaper in the lobby. A little surprising.
Yeah, I think for a heavier mechanics pick like this, RyuK makes sense. More than able to play something like this. I don't think we're particularly looking at like RyuK to do that much better than anyone else on this team, really, but you know, very much able to always fill these types of maps. I think it's more so a question of nerves for him. He's known to be pretty nervous in OWC, so gonna have to see if that ends up affecting his performance here. But everyone else on this team, you know, before this was picked, I was talking about it, but Xooty, PikaPwn, Zylice, they love this type of map. Like it is absolutely their territory. I think it is actually kind of scary for China to go against here, and I think you know, not to say that there's no chance, but I'd be pretty surprised, I think. However, again, they've been playing so good this match so far, so anything could happen. But definitely, I would give a pretty big advantage on, you know, most notably those 3 players on the Canadian team here.
Yeah, I would too, but Azer, we have seen a lot of surprises in this match, and this very well could be one of them. Although we do see early misses from China. It's going to give Canada a little bit of confidence, but this is a long map. It's going to be a real test of consistency, a real test of the nerves. There are so many places you can miss. Now we see a combo drop off from Canada. Well, they will hold on to their early lead.
Yeah, this is a bit of a long one. 4 minutes here. Not really any spikes in difficulty either. It's just very consistent throughout. I think a very, very common part that you might find misses on here is these 1/6 streams that have like snaps at the end, like almost like the Furioso Melodia type snaps. So they can be pretty mean sometimes if you're not super prepared for them. And I think with nerves can definitely catch you off guard here, like getting a slider break on the part after. But we are going to be starting to see a couple of misses here as we get a little bit progressed into the map. Some Titans have fallen here. And now it's looking pretty interesting.
Yeah, China, they're in the driver's seat. Look at the shakes from Crystal. They've seen the scoreboard. Crystal knows it's all on them. Does have good support from Ledo as well. But Canada just need to hold on to these supporting combos and hope for the best. That's all they can do at this point. It's really out of their hands, but there is still a lot of map to be played. And Canada, with the accuracy, are actually holding on to this score lead. There goes Ledo.
On what?
The score lead isn't going to go over. No. Yeah, Canada, they have the support to keep this one in the lead. They need to hold on to all of their supporting combos, though. Crystal's combo is going to be massive and is going to keep in this one. Is anyone's game, but there goes Crystal. It's a three-way from China. Zooty trades it, but Canada, they're off to the races now as long as Zylice can hold a little bit longer. No, there goes Zylice. It's a full reset from pretty much everybody.
Everyone. Oh, it's getting spicy here. 60k. You're only really looking at MidC for any semblance of a combo, but getting to a little bit of a solo here. There's actually a very specific pattern I forgot about that has like the tornado stream. You'll see it when it happens. It's pretty soon. That can change a couple things here. We'll see if there's any struggles on it. Couple of breaks. But MidC's still holding here.
Yeah, being matched by Zooty and PikaPwn. It's all going to come down to this pattern that you mentioned. It's coming up in just 10 to 15 seconds, I believe. It's down to the wire. Every drop, every accuracy. It's going to matter here. Can Zooty and PikaPwn? No, there goes PikaPwn. Now it's Zooty trying to fend off MidC. Can she do it? Canada have a 120,000 point buffer to fall back on. Ledo is going to find a miss. That's going to slow things down. And there goes MidC. Canada should be able to close this one out. Zooty showing up when it matters. And Azer, I think we have a tiebreaker on our hands.
Absolutely do. Maybe not the match I'd expected on, but wow, I'm happy that it's here. 160k at the end here. It was rocky for a bit, probably closer than they would have liked it to be, but doesn't really matter. Canada gets the job done. They'll take their last point here, and it's all tied. We will have to play the tiebreaker.
And man, Azer, talk to me about this tiebreaker. What can we expect? Which team do we feel it favors?
I actually don't think it favors any. This is probably one of the most like neutral TBs that I think you could possibly have. It is very, like generic aim with a few mechanics as well. Like there's some 220 streams in it. It's not too speedy, but pretty neutral map overall. It's really just who's going to be playing better on the spot. Like all 16 people that are in this lobby are going to be, they're going to be able to play this. So it's just a pretty standard like 8-star aim map with a lot of movement, a lot of pretty active tapping, and I'm excited. I'm actually excited. I have no idea who's taking this. I genuinely don't know. China's been putting up such a crazy performance that I don't think a lot of people would be expecting them to be able to match Canada or take them to tiebreaker, and now they have a really good opportunity to advance further than I think a lot of people would have credited them for. It's been a while. They've been top 8, top 12 a couple times, but to be able to go further than this would be pretty impressive for them. And on the flip side here for Canada, a lot of maybe like historical reputation on the line. Like you said, it's been since 2017 that they've been outside the top 8. So maybe some cause for nerves here, but
yeah,
we'll have to see.
It's a similar story for China in the opposite direction. They've not gotten higher than 9th since 2016, where they placed 2nd. The win over Canada would be massive for them. Are we thinking for rosters? Of course, you have to have Zooty in. You're going to have Zylice in. And I think we're going to see David, MidC, and Crystal on the side of China.
Yeah, I think it's the big four for China here. All the Lolols and Crystal probably. But we'll have to see. There's been some change. Maybe Z numbers actually has been playing pretty good for a lot of this type of map. For Canada, I think you're likely to at least see PikaPwn. However, for the 4th player, I don't know. I would like to say RyuK, but on tiebreakers, not always the most confident. So maybe someone else is going to step in. We'll have to see. This is going to be Nick. And RyuK, actually. So no PikaPwn for this, okay. Ledo Fox as well, still in the lobby for this one, but... Again, this map is, it's not really catering to any specific skill set. It is very much just like peak difficulty. everyone can play this, right? So it is much more about, you know, who's feeling really good in the moment. It's very hard to make a roster for this. I think it's just so dependent on right now, like today. How good are you today? So.
And I think we're very likely to see the hidden from Zooty here. It is just a comfort mod for her. She'll take hidden on just about everything she can. I don't really expect to see mods from any other players. And here we go. One of these teams could have a historic performance in OWC. China could pull off the biggest upset of not only the weekend, but potentially of OWC so far. Yeah, a little bit of a surprise, but Ledo on the hidden. We'll see if Ledo can match Zooty here.
That's really interesting. I mean, I don't think hidden adds anything to this, right? It's definitely a comfort mod when this map is aired 9.8, but I would not expect that. I hope that's a good decision for their sake. I think for Zooty, we're used to it at this point. Like, it's gonna happen every time. I don't think anybody needs to, you know, make a point out of it. But yeah, slow start here. We get a nice little introduction. This being an OC original from Minstrel, in case you missed it.
Yeah, players have time, settle into the map. Hopefully, get some of those nerves out. But here we go, Canada versus China. They have been so evenly matched throughout 10 maps into the 11th. Will it be xootynator, who's been playing out of this world all tournament long? Or will it be this core of Crystal, David, MidC, Ledo for the support to close this one out? It is going to be the first miss for Canada, but this is no short map. This is going to be a marathonazer.
Oh yeah. I think some of the tapping parts of this can be pretty difficult as well. Like, it's not necessarily the tapping part of them, but there's a lot of aim attached to it. Like, the streams are pretty spaced, or there's a lot of snaps to a lot of different patterns, so it can be pretty hard, I think, in a tiebreaker context. Specifically, like, just those tapping sections are just not comfortable at all. So we'll have to see if that ends up mattering. It's still pretty much even at this point. I mean, RyuK finding a miss here most recently, but again, it's just getting traded all over the place. It's so hard to build a consistent combo in this, right? It's just very consistently difficult, lots of aim difficulty, so it's definitely going to be more about, you know, the consistent performances, like who's really able to build up a big combo for any of these. And outside of China here, it's still just pretty much MidC holding anything, but could still very much change. We're not very deep into the map, but Canada going to be finding themselves a little bit of a lead here with some more misses as well from David.
Yeah, it's pretty much a full reset for China. Crystal the only one to hold, but had dropped earlier. Nick does finally drop, but Zooty has held on through that stream section, and this is going to be potentially a massive advantage for Canada. We've got a slightly easier section coming up, and Zooty is just going to be able to build this score lead. We'll see if she can get through this aim control section. If she can, Canada will be in a very good spot to take this tiebreaker with half of the map to go. They're up to 141,000 points. RyuK really struggling though, and no support for Zooty, but thankfully for her, there's not much combo on China either, as they find two more misses that they absolutely cannot afford.
I don't know how many more times we're going to have to see this, but it's happening again. The 1400 combo, and no one's close. And I think if you're able to hold through this part here with a lot of the guitar solo, it could be really, really difficult with the aim. So, a bit of a deal breaker this section going to be, but already 230k and climbing in favor of Canada here on the tiebreaker. So,
that's a very tough section though. Zooty could easily find the miss here, and that could be a big swing point, but she's looking so incredibly good. She holds the combo. Oh. There she goes. She finds the miss on the slider break.
The slider tick.
Just no combo on China. Zylice is now the biggest combo in the lobby in China. It feels like they're almost out of it. It's going to take an absolute meltdown from Canada. Maybe if Zylice finds the miss and everybody else holds, but it is dire straits for China here.
Yeah, for this pretty much just having one section remaining here, this lead is pretty big. Even if Zylice were to miss here, I think, you know, Zooty's done the work. Supporting combos or at least were good enough. The scores are not too bad, but this combo advantage that Zooty was able to find, making a world of difference right now. Despite any other miss that can happen on this part. We hit 300k at the end of a tiebreaker. I think it might, maybe with Zylice missing here, but even then, this score's still going in their favor. I think it's good to be called at this point. Canada doing the work on the tiebreaker. We were worried for a bit.
It was certainly stressful, but Canada have closed this one out. xootynator absolutely putting the team on her back all match long. Time and time again, she put up the big combos when it matters. And on the tiebreaker, she puts up 650,000. Canada are going to be moving on to the next round of semifinals, where they will face United Kingdom. China, a valiant effort, but this will be the end of the road for them.
I would have really liked to see China play another round on this full. I'm not gonna lie. This team was looking so good for so many maps. Unfortunately, one has to go. This was a losers bracket match, so we will be saying goodbye to them for now up until next year. And Canada will be advancing.
Yeah, certainly disappointing for China to get so close, but fall just at the last hurdle. But they have nothing to be ashamed of. They played their hearts out against a very strong team in Canada. Put up some incredible scores too. Notably, that DT4 score was just out of this world. 2.6 million on one of the hardest maps in the pool is the top score of the tournament. And they've played a good tournament overall.